Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Self-Publishing Mastery Talks. I'm A.G. Billig, and I'm thrilled to be here with you today and to bring you one of the top book marketing experts in the US. Before diving into that conversation, where we will debunk some of the top myths running in the industry today, such as we don't need book reviews, we need book marketing, we need book publicists. So we will be talking about all of this in depth, and you will find out the truth about it. I want to tell you that, as you can see, we have a new channel. Until now, these videos were hosted on my author channel, A.G. Billig. From now on, Self-Publishing Mastery has its own YouTube channel, so that's why I'm asking you to subscribe and share so we can grow together as a community. And we will be having the Self-Publishing Mastery Talks as a monthly video, but we will add more content, and one of them will be book marketing tips. So keep an eye on those videos as well. They will be shorter, but they will provide a lot of value. So without much further ado, let's dive into our conversation with our special guest today, Sandra Beckwith, and find out some interesting things about what you can do and what you need to do as an author to be successful nowadays. Enjoy. I'm excited and honored to introduce you Sandra Beckwith. She's Sandy for her followers and friends. So she's an author just like you, but she's also a national award-winning publicist, a former publicist. And she's also the founder of one of my favorite websites and blogs when it comes to self-publishing, book marketing, writing advice, Build Book Buzz, and it's an award-winning website. And she's been on so many TV shows that I can't remember all of them. So maybe you can help us. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you, AG, and thank you for such a lovely welcome.
We are going to talk about book marketing today. And we are going to talk about 5 myths, 5 things authors believe they should do or they shouldn't do. And you're going to learn the truth about it.
Would you like me to comment on that?
Oh, please. That's why, I picked this. It's 5 myths because I know you're the right person.
Yeah, and what I hear the people I hear that from more are authors who don't have reviews. And they say that sort of as an excuse for why they don't have reviews. Nobody pays attention to them. There are so many reasons why you need reviews, but the biggest one is that they are what marketers call social proof. They are evidence that people have read and people have liked your book. And even when it comes to spending as little as 99 cents for a book, we don't want to be the first one to spend 99 cents. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to waste our 99 cents on a book that disappoints us. So, that's kind of foolish. It's only 99 cents, but that's how the brain works. So we are looking for sort of visual evidence that we're not the first ones and that we won't be disappointed. And those stars at the top of your Amazon sales page or your Barnes & Noble page or wherever it is tell us that we are not the first, and they give us clues to whether or not this book is well done. You don't even have to read those reviews. And as a matter of fact, maybe you never read those reviews. But I bet no matter what you're buying, you do look at those stars and you look at the average score on those stars. So there's that reason. It's just that what we call social proof that readers need. But in addition to that, if you want to do any advertising on places like Amazon or BookBub or elsewhere, you want those reviews there because otherwise you're throwing your money away, with Amazon in particular. Because, again, you're spending money to bring people to your book's page, but if you don't have those reviews at the top of the page, people aren't going to buy your book. So you need them for that. For BookBub, which is a great vehicle for advertising deal prices on your books, they have they take the number and quality of reviews into account when they decide whether they're going to take your money for an ad, because BookBub is very, very, very competitive. And it's competitive because it sells books. Authors who spend money on an ad there earn that money back and make a profit. So they want to make sure that they're promoting quality books, and the number of reviews and the average score are part of that. So, we could go on and on about why they're important, but I think those are the two most important reasons.
I remember at some point I watched a webinar, and the presenter was saying that you need to sell 1,000 books to get one review. What do you think about that?
I don't agree with that. I think there are a number of ways to get reviews that are, let's say, less organic than that. I think that theory is accurate in that if you aren't doing anything else to get reviews, if you aren't proactively going after reviews, yeah, maybe that's a number that makes sense. But I sure hope that you are doing lots of other things to get those reviews. There are a number of tools and resources you can use to get your book in the hands of people who write reviews. And AG, I've got an article on my website about where you can find them, and we'll drop that into the show notes so people can just click on that when they listen to this. But I'd like to think that you are, that you're assertive about getting reviews, and you're using all the resources available to you so that you aren't just sitting there saying, oh, somebody please review my book. I hope a stranger reviews my book. It needs to be, honestly, strangers who review your book, but it needs to be strangers that you reach out to, because a lot of things just don't happen on their own. It's like your book wasn't published all by itself. You made it happen. Same thing with reviews.
And I have one more question about book reviews. I know this is one of your specialties, and I know you help people with that as well. So please check the video comments, and you will find the link to the article Sandy mentioned, and as well a link to her services. Another myth, I think, is that if you discount your book to be free on Amazon, as part of being included in KDP Unlimited, then many people will download your book, and then the chances that for reviews increase based on the number of downloads.
Yeah, that is a myth, because and raising my hand on this, I'm guilty of this. I'll download a free book because it's free. It looks like something I might enjoy, and then it just kind of sits on that Kindle bookshelf forever. And I hate to admit this, but I'm less likely to read it because I didn't invest anything in getting the book. So there's a really good chance that I downloaded it, yay you, but I never read it, no review, right? So that it is a numbers game, and it's one of the strategies you can use to get more reviews, but it's not the only thing, and it's not a sure thing by any means. It's just one of several things you should be doing proactively to get those reviews.
Yeah, it isn't for sure, because I did it for my book. I chose Love, A Journey from Fear to Love. So I made the book free available for a few days. It's true that I got thousands of downloads, and it was #1 in several categories. But in terms of book reviews, it didn't move the needle. So
yes, and so there is that category bestseller banner that you can claim. But I think readers are getting tuned into that.
Yes.
That they're realizing category bestseller is not the same thing as New York Times bestseller. So then you have to factor that into your strategy. I think free books work best when you've got a series, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. A free ebook becomes a sample of your writing, and especially with a fictional series, you get somebody hooked on the first book by giving it to them for free, then they'll buy the next book and the next book. And so you're creating a customer base for a series. I think that's really the best application of that strategy.
You see, I knew why I brought Sandy today on the show, because, I mean, we could talk for hours.
We couldn't. I'd be happy to do that. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you again for being here. So to wrap up the reviews myth today, could you give us one nugget of wisdom or advice? Like one thing.
Yes. Boy, my best bit of advice is to pursue them. And I know that sounds so simple, but don't expect them. I'll give you 2 bits of advice. Don't expect them to happen on their own. Some will, but you really do need to go after them. The other thing is, a lot of people, and this falls into the myths section, a lot of people think that their friends and family should be reviewing their book. And actually, Amazon bans that, particularly family. Amazon's focus is on honest, unbiased reviews. And your mom isn't going to be unbiased. And if she is, she shouldn't be your mom, right? Mom's job is to praise whatever you do. So Amazon doesn't want or bans reviews from your family. If it realizes that you have some kind of connection to a reviewer, it'll block or remove the review. So don't make that mistake of focusing your reviews on people you're connected to that way, because it's a waste of your time.
Okay. Thank you. That's great. And I think as authors, we all want feedback from people who don't know us, because we want to know how they are feeling about what we write. Our friends will sometimes be afraid to tell us, "Oh, I don't like it." So,
yeah. And also, my friends don't read the kind of books I write. So why would I expect them to write a review of something that doesn't interest them? It's unfair to both of us.
Every expert in the industry is saying the same thing.
I think there are a lot of things you can do without advertising. There's an awful lot, and there's publicity, and there's using social media wisely. There's, hosting or participating in online programs where you're talking about your book or a topic related to your book. There are so many things you can be doing, guest blogging and doing podcast interviews like this. Lots of things that don't cost you money. If you are going to advertise, you need to think about what is your goal for the advertising. We were just talking about reviews. If your goal to advertise is to get reviews, then maybe your advertising dollars should go into, there's a handful of newsletters that will offer free books to readers, and you pay for that space. So maybe if your goal is reviews and one of your goals is reviews, and this is one way you can do that, put your advertising into that. If you feel you have to advertise and you have the budget, optimize your Amazon sales page, get those reviews up there, and then put some money into Amazon ads. I think it's far more effective for authors than, say, Facebook advertising. Yeah. And again, I'm a big fan of BookBub ads, because I have bought my share of books through BookBub ads. So just speaking for myself, they work. And like I said, every author I know who has paid for ads there has earned back the cost and made a nice amount of money in terms of royalties. So, but it's not necessary. It all depends on your goals, and that's something you really need to keep in mind. What are your goals, and then are they realistic, and then how do you reach those goals? And it might not be advertising.
What would be your preferred advertising channel? So I know you mentioned Amazon, BookBub, but if you were to pick just one.
If I were to pick just one, I would probably say Amazon, particularly if your book is nonfiction, because I think BookBub does better with fiction. Amazon is sort of more of an equal opportunity employer. And the reason I select Amazon is because people are there looking for books. I mean, they pull up that search bar. They, if they're like me, they select books in the drop down and then type in maybe a topic for books that they might be interested in, or they go to the bestsellers list, all kinds of things. But when they're readers and they want a book, they go to Amazon to find a book. So that's where your audience is. I'll throw out that your audience is also on Goodreads, but I don't recommend putting in your advertising dollars there ahead of a place like Amazon.
The answer to this affirmation, you need to advertise to get book sales, is
no.
Okay.
How's that? My second traditionally published book, I sold out 3 press runs of that book.
Oh, wow.
It's nonfiction, but I sold out 3 press runs on publicity alone.
Now I want to buy. Tell me the title.
Yeah, well, it's a very specialized topic. And this was pre-social media, so it tells you how old it is. But it's called Streetwise Complete Publicity Plans. It was a book about small business publicity, and I just got publicity for that topic, and it sold directly to readers, but also it got picked up by several college professors who used it as a textbook, even though it was not intended as a textbook. But that all happened without advertising. My publisher didn't advertise it. I didn't advertise it. It was just solely on publicity. So, I mean, that's just one example of success without advertising. I think it would help people to know what a book publicist costs. You think? Yeah.
That too. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they aren't cheap. A good book publicist will charge you from $3,000 to $5,000 a month and require a 3-month minimum, and will tell you that there are no guarantees, because publicity is media relations. It is not advertising. The difference is, with advertising, you pay for the space or the airtime where information about your book appears. You control what's in that ad, and you control when that ad runs. You have control over everything. With publicity, you are trying to get in the news media, whether it's yourself as the author or your book title included somewhere out there in magazine articles, newspapers, radio and TV talk shows, online news sites, online feature sites, online magazine sites, that sort of thing. There are no guarantees, because you have to get past this gatekeeper, who is usually an editor or a producer. However, a good publicist knows how to do all that, and knows how to pull out of your book what's newsworthy and what will get media attention. So they are well worth it. But the question is, can you afford that money? So first, let's talk about, can you afford it, and who can? And then we'll talk about, can you do it yourself? And the answer is yes, you can do it yourself. Absolutely. But just for that bigger picture, the people who can afford to spend that kind of money tend to be traditionally published authors who got a large enough advance against sales to fund a publicist. They tend to be entrepreneurs who are successful enough and can spend this money not only with no guarantee of earning it back in royalties, but not even needing or wanting to earn it back in royalties. Also, professional speakers and consultants who use this kind of a book exposure as a lead generator.
Yes.
It is something that will get their phone ringing with calls to speak, and speaking requests that pay more than they've been getting, to get consulting contracts, things like that. So these are all people who are investing in their career, not investing in the book. And that is a real big difference. The other people, the additional category of people who do this, are people who are career authors, and who know that their next publishing, the advance they get in their next publishing offer is largely dependent on how many books their current book is selling.
Yeah.
So they're doing everything they can to sell a lot of books now, because that means they will get hopefully a bigger advance for their next book. So these are all people who can afford to lose the money that they spend on a publicist. I think a lot of people listening don't fall into that category, and specifically can't really afford to lose that money.
Yeah.
Can they do this themselves? Yes, they can. What a publicist will do for you is find what's newsworthy in your book and pitch it to the right media outlets. Well, so can you. It takes some thought, and if you write fiction, I've got an article on my website about how to find the hidden news hooks in your fiction. Nonfiction, you have a better sense of what's newsworthy and noteworthy in your book. It's a different mindset, really. So yes, you just need to figure out what's your target audience. What media outlets do they read, watch, and listen to? What do I have to offer that is of interest to those outlets and their audiences? And how do I reach the right person there? And what do I share with the right person there? And again, I've got a lot of information about this on my website. As you know, I have a search box on my website. Just type in publicity or media relations, and you will get a lot of how-to information on how to do this. But my biggest recommendation for the do-it-yourself approach, and you can do it yourself. I know so many people who do it, so many authors who do it, and they do very, very well. We were talking people who get on the Today Show and have all kinds of impressive exposure. For my books, you mentioned in the introduction, for my books, I was on the Montel Williams show, and a show called Home and Family, and another one that's not on anymore, but is called The Vicki Show for Vicki Lawrence. You can do it yourself. Now, my biggest tip is to start with your local media.
Yeah.
It's kind of like going to warm. They will be more receptive. And it will give you a chance to kind of test your approach, sort of fine-tune it, get the bugs out. And then if you're fortunate enough to get an interview, it's really good, practice material to start locally. So they're more likely to be receptive, and they will be more forgiving of any mistakes you might make. And so it's sort of a nice proving ground for you. Start locally, start small. If locally really isn't an option because you're in Manhattan, and forget about it, as we say in New York. If locally doesn't really make sense, well, then be very targeted with who you go out with beyond that local base. Pick one outlet, study it, learn what it uses, and then craft your approach to them based on your new understanding of what it uses. And that will make you positioned in the best way to get that success, to get that interview, or to get that mention in an article, whatever it might be. Oh, and one more tip, and this is a good one. I can't believe I didn't say this first. Subscribe to a free service that connects reporters and journalists with experts. And you're nodding your head, AG, so this is, the short name is HARO, H-A-R-O. It is the acronym for Help a Reporter Out. And again, I've got information on my website about this. I sound like a broken record, I know. But the website is helpareporter.com. It is a free email you can subscribe to that 3 times a day sends you a list of requests from journalists for sources. I use it as a writer. I work as in addition to working with authors, I work as a freelance writer. I use it all the time to find sources for my magazine articles that are assigned to me. It allows people like me to say, here's what I'm writing about. here's the type of source I need. Please email me, and here's what I need from you when you email me. It's free. It is one of the best tools out there for getting you publicity, and you don't need a publicist to do that. You can do that yourself.
So you need a book publicist to get media exposure. Your verdict is?
No. No. Yes. You do need to know. Oh, good. I got the right answer. Ding, ding, ding.
No, finally, we've got a yes.
Yes,
we had two no's.
We get a yes. Yes, we get a yes. And the reason you need to know your target audience is because there is this myth that the larger your audience, the more sales you have. It's really not true. The more focused your audience is, the more sales you'll have, because in your marketing, when you have a smaller audience and you know who that is and you know where to find them and how to reach them, you are truly funneling your efforts more effectively and to the right people. So you will sell more when you focus on the people who are most likely to buy your book. And if you have a book that in theory does have a large audience, what you want to do is think of your audience in terms of bullseyes. And like a bullseye has it's a collection of concentric circles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You start with the center of that bullseye, the smallest circle. You start there, and then you move outward from there. And the people in the center of that bullseye are the people who are most likely to love and read and buy your book. Zero in on them, and only when you've sort of gotten that under control should you go out to the next circle.
I guess most authors, I think they agree they need to know their target audience, and then they are like, now what do I do? Where do I find it? How do I know them?
Yeah.
And
yeah. So how do I know them? That takes a little work. It's not like somebody just says, here's your audience. And again, it depends on your genre and all that sort of thing. If you've written a business book on a specific topic, like business plans for small businesses, well, then you know that you're, it's a little more clear to you. If you write mysteries, you can Google mystery reader demographics, and you will find industry information online that will tell you that most of the mystery readers, most of the people who buy mystery books are women. I believe it's over the age of 50, actually. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, so you will find all this demographic information. Some of it you can get through Googling, some of it you can't. So then you have to start talking to people who read the types of books that you write and gather information about them. How old are they? Where do they live? What's their household income? What are they, married, single, empty nesters, little kids? I mean, there's all kinds of information you can find out about people. And you can do this by talking to people who read the books you write. And you can do all of this kind of research digitally. You can do surveys, but there are a lot of things you can do, but you do have to do this. I mean, it is a little bit of work for sure. And then when you get a sense of who reads books like yours, and let's take mystery writers, for example, because as I said, I know you can find that information online. Like romance readers, you can find that information online. Science fiction, you can find a little. Now, it's a little harder to find online. But once you have those demographics, then what you do is you say, okay, where do I reach these people online and in the real world? Do they read newspapers? Well, there's all kinds of information online about who reads newspapers. So you sort of match up the channel, whether it's Instagram or talk radio. You match those demographics with the demographics of people in your audience, and that helps you find how they align, where they overlap, and that helps you see. For example, Instagram tends to be people 30 and younger. Well, if your book is about how to survive an empty nest, Instagram's probably, that's not so much where it's happening for you.
Yes.
Your audience is probably more on Facebook. They probably read a daily newspaper. So these are the kinds of things you can find when you put the effort into it. And I know it sounds like work, but as I saw quoted once, there's this advice columnist called Amy. Her name is Amy Dickinson. Her column is Ask Amy. It's a syndicated advice column. She once said, that's why it's called work. If it was fun, it would be called Steve. And my brother's name is Steve, so I made him a nice little graphic with that and sent it to him. He was very happy. But it's work. There's no way around it. But being an author is work.
Yeah.
Nothing just happens on its own. But for me, a lot of this work is kind of fun too. So there's that.
Yeah, I was going to say that it depends on each one of us to make it fun and entertaining. And then when you are really passionate about becoming a full-time author and, putting your talent into a book and changing people's lives, then this becomes, you have more enthusiasm that helps you go through these steps, I guess.
Yes, and exactly. Thinking about changing people's lives, whether it's nonfiction or fiction, you can have an impact on people, and you want to have an impact on people. So you want to make sure they know about your book. And these are the kinds of things you can do to make sure they do know about your book and that it does make a difference for them.
So we talked about book reviews. We talked about media exposure, publicity. We talked about target audience. So many wonderful things that we all need to actually use in our daily life as authors to make our books stand out and be easy to find for people who are looking for books like us. Which brings us to our fifth and last myth, which I think that's the only way to incorporate everything we talked about today and even more. And this is...
The reason you want a book marketing plan is it's your blueprint for success. That is the bottom line. It is a book marketing plan covers your target audience, and we've talked about how important that is. It covers your goals, and that is what is it that you want to achieve here? What's the end game for you? And then, of course, those goals have to be realistic, but it also addresses the tactics you'll use to reach your goals, and the tactics are those things that you will do. Like you'll figure out Instagram, you'll promote your book on Instagram, or you will be the best way to reach your target audience is through guest blogging, or it's through podcast interviews, whatever it might be, or maybe it's Amazon ads or BookBub ads, as we've discussed. But it helps you outline those things you will do, your tactics, and then of course it helps you develop a budget to see what will this cost, and of all of these options, what can you afford. And the real beauty of a book marketing plan is if you are thoughtful about how you create it, it will help you see what will take you the furthest, the fastest. It will help you get clarity. It will help you see that one thing you could do would be really interesting, but it's probably not the best fit for your book because it's not going to help you reach your target audience. So by going through this process, it helps you kind of zero in on who you need to reach and how you need to reach them. And not surprisingly, AG, I actually have information about that on my website. I have a free download for a book marketing plan template. So it's actually a fill in the blanks form but I also give you instructions on how to fill out each section, how to figure out your target audience. And it includes examples too, so that you see it. It's not only how to do it, but what does it look like? What does this mean? So it's really kind of the whole package, and it's free.
So your verdict is?
True. Yes.
Yes. You are just amazing, Sandra.
Oh, you're so nice. Thank you so much. Let's really do this again. I enjoy this. It's such a nice conversation, and you're allowing me to share information that I think is important, and I hope it's helpful. So I appreciate that.
Thank you again. Happy holidays.
Happy survival mode.
Yeah.